Welcome back to the Game Gallery. How's everybody doing on July 5th, 2024? Happy belated July 4th. Happy birthday, America. I did a little bit of gaming, had a hot dog. We eat hot dogs once a year, maybe. Sometimes once every couple years, 3 years. We went to Whole Foods, bought some healthy hot dogs, buns, and some sauerkraut instead of relish. They were pretty good, actually. And, of course, I worked. I work 7 days a week, 365. I work my birthday. I work on July 4th. I work on Christmas. If you're a full-time reseller, you pretty much work it all the time because, for example, I shipped a game to Germany yesterday. And in Germany, there's no July 4th. I had to go back and forth with the buyer, explain customs and duties and all that. He was kind of a newbie with only 10 feedback, but he understood that there might be some additional charges on receipt, and I dropped it off at FedEx today, but I shipped it yesterday, July 4th. So we got a lot to go through today, updates on several different platforms, sites, companies. So not a long intro. If you're new to the channel, this is where we talk about the business of graded games. Stuff like auction houses, retailers, platforms, shipping, taxes, fees, buy-sell trades, subbing, Frankensteining. We also talk about reselling, flipping, investing, collecting. And if you really want a collecting-based channel, check out Get the Great Games on YouTube. This is the place for business, so let's get into it. I'm going to go over as many updates as I can remember. Going back, let's say 6 to 9 months, maybe Q3 2023, Q1, Q2 2024, a lot happened. I might miss a few, but I'm going to do my best to go over some of the important news and updates. So let's start with Walmart, of all places. This is really interesting. If you did not know, Walmart is the hardest platform to become a seller on. It's actually harder than Amazon. Amazon requires all kinds of hoops to go through now. Sometimes, if you want a business account, for example, you're going to have to come up with an insurance policy, business name, possible tax ID, all that. Walmart is just as tough, if not tougher. It took me a couple years to get on the platform, multiple applications, rejections, and I'm still fiddling around with managing inventory on that platform because it's really, really difficult. But supposedly, they are the number one retailer in the world. So as far as video games, I'm guessing Walmart probably sells more new video games than anyone else, if not Amazon. I'm guessing those are probably the two biggest players on the planet next to GameStop. But GameStop is primarily used. So Walmart started out with new video games only. Actually, that was media. You type in a UPC, it was automatically conditioned new, supposed to be factory sealed. They ran into a lot of sellers selling refurbished, falsely advertised as new. It was a shit show for a while, and they've cleaned things up. They've added new conditions along with, I think, maybe refurbished and used. I don't know if they break it down with detail like Amazon did. Amazon breaks it down to like, new, very good, good, acceptable, I believe, just like eBay. But the big news is they announced Walmart Collectibles. So you can just Google Walmart Collectibles, and it comes up with the page that says Collector Shop, and it's almost like you're going into a virtual store. They've got pre-orders, new releases, exclusives, savings. They break it down by shelves. Those are the shelves, quote unquote. And then the categories for now in early July 2024 are trading cards, action figures, vinyl figures, dolls, vehicles, coins and bullion, plush, comic books, and vinyl. So yes, cards, coins, and comics made it, and I do see some graded here, but video games are still a minor industry in collectibles. I don't know how long. How long do you think it's going to take for us to be able to list graded games on Amazon, Walmart, GameStop, etc.? Who knows? Speaking of GameStop, the big news is they jumped into the collectible grading trading card market. So they added a marketplace to GameStop.com, and you can now buy and sell sports cards and TCG, which stands for trading card games if you're new to that hobby. In sports, you've got baseball, basketball, combat sports, football, hockey, and soccer. In TCG, you've got Dragon Ball, Disney, Lorcana, Magic, One Piece, Pokemon, and Yu-Gi-Oh! I did a quick search. Let's just go to the front page and click on price high to low. And that just tells me it's in its infancy. The most expensive Pokemon card is only $1,700. I don't know if that's a good or bad price. The third most expensive item on the website is a Naoya Inoue. I think he's a boxer. Yep, PSA 10 for a little under $1,000. So other than 2 items, everything's under $1,000. So this website, this platform, this marketplace, whatever you want to call it, and I don't believe they're taking third party. In other words, I don't think you can go on here and sell your own stuff, but I do believe anybody can walk in to a GameStop and sell their cards for less. I don't know why they would do that. Why do you think people would do that? Maybe they're not savvy online. They can't sell online. They're blocked on eBay. Who knows? There could be a bunch of different reasons, but do you think GameStop is opening the door to graded video games or retro games in the future? I know they tried retro. Something didn't work out. I'm guessing too many repros, too much cleaning, too much overhead, too much management costs to deal with cartridges as low as, let's say, $5, and then possibly lack of demand at the retail stores for retro is what I'm guessing. Obviously, there's much more demand for sports cards and Pokemon in PSA cases because, you've got your authenticity, you've got your certification, and you've got your grading. So moving on to the other, I guess you could call them a retailer. I was going to say, we'll start the podcast off with the retailers, Walmart, GameStop, and Amazon. Amazon is both a retailer and a marketplace. I don't know if you've been on there recently, but I believe Amazon sells more sealed video games than anybody else, than any marketplace on the planet. I've just been on there for 15 years, and the velocity of video games is just insane to your average buyer, your mom, your pop, your uncle, your grandmother, anybody buying presents that they want sealed games for their kids, their grandkids, nephews. It's just a monster when it comes down to Q4, the amount of volume you can move on Amazon. And if you did not know, I have actually sold graded games on Amazon. There was a time when Amazon had an additional condition field called collectible. And during that time, there was no price limits on collectible video games. So you could list anything that you thought was collectible for any price. Today, in 2024, that's impossible. There is no longer a collectible category. You have to choose new or used, which comes down to like new, very good, good, acceptable type of thing. And you have price limits. You have a bot going through all the listings constantly, probably powered by AI, that basically looks at pricing. They look at other things on the internet. They probably look at eBay. I know Walmart looks at Amazon. Walmart copies everything from Amazon. They have price alerts. I have so many items I have to go through and reprice lower because Amazon and Walmart think they're not competitively priced. So it's really hard. The bottom line is it's basically impossible to list a game over $59.99. Occasionally, $75, $70.99. I have a couple games listed for $99.99, but over that, it has to be a game that has a lot of history being sold in a very high dollar amount. I'm thinking $150 is probably the cap in 2024 for selling a, let's say, brand new sealed video game on Amazon. So those are the big three, right, for retail. Let's jump into the big two auction spaces for graded video games. No question, eBay is the king. The amount of video games eBay moves is just jaw-dropping. All you have to do is click on Terapeak and type in anything. Type in WATA, type in NES, type in Xbox 360 and then go back a year or two, and your mind will be blown by the number of units and total price that eBay has moved. They are a monster. And they had a lot of updates in the last, let's say, 6 to 9 months. I think the biggest one in terms of industry news is that eBay bought Golden. So Golden is coming up because of the Netflix drama, and they're really visible. Even though they are not the kings of pop culture, they were visible enough for eBay to do a deal and buy them from Collectors, which used to be called Collectors Universe, which is PSA, PCGS, PSA DNA for autographs, and of course, WATA for video games. Actually, WATA is doing, well, we'll get into that with the WATA update. WATA is also doing other media now. But anyway, let's stick to eBay for now. So eBay bought Golden. I'm guessing that they're going to cross-market each other. I don't see anything yet on Golden.com or eBay.com that really explains how the synergy is going to pay off. But what I'm thinking is that eBay is more of your low to mid-range, right? It's really hard to sell something over $5,000 on eBay, if not $2,000 in, let's say, mid to late 2024. But on Golden, you know, you've got stuff going off for millions of dollars. So maybe eBay can possibly contact power sellers on the platform like a Probstein or whatever and say, hey, you know, would you like to cross-post your multi-million-dollar items so that they're on eBay and Golden at the same time or something like that? I don't really know. But we'll see. We'll see in the future if eBay and Golden are going to do any groundbreaking things that help the industry. So the other big news on eBay, I'm sure you heard, was that we had some raw video games sell for 5 figures. Well, 1 or 2 of them got close to 6 figures. And most of that activity came out of the Dallas-Fort Worth collection, which I'm going to talk about in a minute when we go over CGC update. But I think Kid Icarus and Castlevania First Print Sealed were the big games that went off for like 80 to 100 grand. And on eBay, those are big numbers. You may not be able to search those on Terapeak because I believe some of those have gotten canceled and then sold in person type of deal. So the other updates are pretty small on eBay. Improvements to reduce unpaid items extended to seller-initiated offers. So this has to do with offers and hitting the payment method. If you did not know, on Mercari, when you do offers and you accept an offer, it's a done deal. As soon as you click accept offer as a seller on Mercari, it's a done deal unless the payment fails. In other words, the payment is hit right when the seller decides to accept the offer. On the flip side, if the buyer makes an offer on an automatic offer accepting listing, they will get hit immediately and confirm that purchase immediately as well. That's something that's taking quite a while on eBay. eBay started with auctions. Make offer came in years ago. Back in the day, there was no make offer. There was no credit cards. There was no PayPal. Speaking of PayPal, Venmo is now a payment option on eBay. But basically, the make offer system had a delay built into it to where first the offer was made, then it was rejected automatically, then another offer was made. That one may have went through. Then the buyer had to wait. The seller may be asleep in a different time zone. The seller wakes up. He either counters that offer and goes back to the buyer, or maybe he accepts it, goes back to the buyer. Then the buyer either has to counteroffer again or pay. So it was a really slow process. What I'm thinking is that actually I'm noticing on some lower end transactions, I've seen them go through instantly. So you make the offer as the buyer, the seller accepts, and it hits the credit card. So I don't know exactly how eBay decides to hit the credit card, but as a seller, I do believe you do have that option to check the box of immediate payment required. That is a long time standing option on eBay. So aside from Venmo being added as a payment option, they're going to be taking away American Express August 17th, 2024. The other really important updates on eBay, if you're a seller, are shipping options. The shipping options got jumbled up. The global shipping program is, well, it's actually gone. If you're listening to this, no matter when you're listening to this, global shipping program is gone. That was a shipping program where you sent it to eBay's warehouse, and then eBay took care of everything else. If there was a problem, they would cover it. They still do that, but they renamed it eBay International Shipping. I believe it's very, very similar. I do believe there's an option for the buyer to pay customs up front based upon the eBay price, of course, so there's no lowering of customs value. But if the buyer wants a complete price out the door, I believe that is an option with eBay International Shipping. So if you want to know more about international shipping, I highly recommend it, especially Germany, maybe the UK, Spain, a couple of those other countries that have grading companies. I would just Google, eBay International Shipping, or just search the site and look at the details. They're going to be adding Puerto Rico, for example, which I don't ship to anymore because I've had some troubles. But I assume with the eBay International Shipping Program, once you get them a tracking number delivered to the eBay warehouse in United States, you're good to go from there, even if it gets lost or charged back, or like I had a guy say it never arrived and then an empty box came back, that type of situation. So, and by the way, I would like to point out eBay has the best policy for sellers for tracking numbers. I believe almost always if the tracking number shows delivered, you are covered. That will not cover you on Amazon, Walmart. I don't know about Mercari, but that will not cover you on Amazon. You need like a signature if the buyer files a chargeback or claim. And by the way, a buyer can file a chargeback probably 6 months after probably the transaction date on the credit card. So it'd be the purchase date, not the ship date, not the delivery date. So the other shipping options that I've noticed that I've been keeping my eye out because I'm selling a lot of $59.99, $79.99, $99.99 slabs, and I'm bleeding on shipping because shipping may cost $12, $13, and I'm charging $10. So there's 2 new domestic shipping services that FedEx and UPS rolled out. I don't know exactly when they rolled it out, but finally they hit eBay. Now, it's not on every order I'm noticing. It's by the recipient's address, but it's something to keep your eye out for, and they're called FedEx Ground Economy and UPS Ground Saver. I think these used to be called like Smart Post, but basically these services are, you drop it off at FedEx or UPS, but the last mile is getting hand off to the post office. So from the buyer's standpoint, the post office delivers it. From the seller's standpoint, you're dropping off with FedEx and UPS. The benefit with FedEx and UPS as a seller is you can walk into the FedEx store, walk into the UPS store and say, hey, can you scan this in? They even have a kiosk at FedEx where I go. It gets scanned in immediately. And what that does, if you're on Mercari, Amazon, eBay, that gives it's called an origin scan, and the buyer gets updated that the item is already in transit. So it can actually help your metrics as a shipper reseller. Okay, I think that does it for eBay. And before we take a break, because we definitely want to use artificial intelligence to remove any background noise, I got the aircon running 24/7 in the background. We hit 118 degrees on the highway. Going to Whole Foods to pick up hot dogs on July 4th. It was intense. Extreme heat warning here in Vegas. So if you can't hear the aircon, that means the AI was successful. But before we stop this segment, let's go into Heritage. So Heritage, should we start with the bad news? The big news on Heritage is that the BP went up from 20 to 25%. If you're new to the hobby, if you're new to the big auction houses, most of them have, not eBay. When we say big, we're talking Golden, Certified Link, maybe Comic Connect, and of course Heritage Auctions at ha.com, free to register, get your color catalogs free by bidding on signature. There's a BP called a buyer's premium. It's a fee that the auction house is collecting above and beyond what the consignor or seller is getting, because the big auction houses are not selling their own items. They're selling someone else's items that they vetted, took pictures, make sure there's no cracks in the cases. They maybe sent them to grading. They manage the whole process on the back end. They're doing the financing. They're handling sales taxes. They're handling overseas shipment. And for all that stuff, they're charging 25% from the buyer. They're also charging anywhere from probably 0 to 10% to the seller to manage that inventory. So the big news is BP went up from 20 to 25%, and that affects the buying side. So you might see people bidding a little bit less. I don't know. It's really hard to say. I think macroeconomics plays into, hammer price more than anything else. The other news that, it's more of an update. Is that HA's running shorter auctions, and there's a bunch of reasons for this. Obviously, the quality of the material has gone down, which allows HA to bundle. They're bundling raw stuff. They're bundling, we've seen hardware. We've seen magazines, bundled strategy guides, bundle, graded games, bundling. There's all kinds of stuff getting bundled, and there's more and more themed auctions. Like we had Japanese. We've already had 2 Japanese themes so far. We've had a PC theme coming up. I think in a week, less than a week, there's a PC theme coming up along with Clink on the 11th, Golden Auctions on the 13th. But basically, HA is basically being watered down a bit. Now, with that said, we are going to see some of the biggest bangers we have seen in a couple years. I'm guessing, and if I look at my spreadsheet, and I look at the last several auctions going back to July 2021, the peak, 8.4 million, October 2021, 8.1 million, January 2022, 5 million, April 22, 5 million, August 2022, 4.5 million, November, 3.7 million, January 2023, 1.8, April, we had a blip come up over $2 million, July 2023, 1.78, November 1.8, February 1.9. So we bounced off the bottom. These are totals for Signature, which is the event that resets the hobby and everybody can reprice off of. I didn't put in the May figures, but I believe they were 2 million. I'm guaranteeing that the Summer Signature coming up on my birthday, August 22nd, 3rd, and 4th, is going to beat the last, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 signatures. So like maybe 6, maybe 5 signatures. We're talking a year and a half of activity on the big board is going to get shattered or beat because of the Dallas-Fort Worth collection. Now, this is a collection of video games that were in an estate sale. I believe a elderly collector saved those his whole life, sealed, mostly NES grails, and they're all coming back early, mid to high grade, and there are some bangers. So you can look these up on HA.com right now. I don't know if there's going to be more added. We've got 39 of them so far. All you have to do is go to HA.com, type in Dallas CGC, and boom, you've got your list. Not everything on here is a CGC pedigree, which I'll talk about next when we go over CGC. But what you're looking for are the gold labels. They're beautiful gold labels with, it's not in the title. I guess you have to click on the item and scroll down, and it says Historical Dallas-Fort Worth Collection. So I just ranked this by most popular. And let's go through them real quick. We've got a 9.2 Zelda as NES-TM. That could do $500,000. We've got a 9.0 CIB Matte Sticker Mario. Who knows what that does? It could do 10 grand. It could do 50 grand. Metroid 968 Plus. Hang Tab, first production. What's that going to do? That's the one that's sold on eBay. It's got to do 100 grand at least. Disney's Aladdin 98A++, made in Japan. Phantasy Star 98A++. Urban Champion 90A++, gloss sticker. Donkey Kong Jr. 8.5 CIB along with Donkey Kong 8.5 CIB gloss. Kung Fu 8.5 matte. Batman Returns 968+, sealed SNES. Athena 968+. Blaster Master 988+. Chrysalis 988+. 8.5 CIB gloss DK3. Solomon's Key 988+. Bubble Round 988+. Street Fighter Turbo 988+. Tiger Heli 968+. Mighty Bomb Jack 948+. Jaws, it's an oval 988++ though. high grade 96 CIB round 1942. Wow. It's not a hang tab, it's a later. Ultima Exodus 988 plus. Wrecking Crew Matt 9. Super Dodgeball 968 plus. 9.9 A plus Robo Warrior. 968 plus Star Soldier. Indiana Jones 948 plus Tengen. No, yeah. Is that 10? Yeah, that's a Tengen. Cybernator 988 plus. Void is Blob 968 plus. Tubin 968 plus plus. King's Knight 968 plus. Gyrus 988 plus. Monster Party 968 plus plus. So yeah, it's just loaded with quality if you're trying to build out the NES slabbed collection. So is anybody out there trying to complete NES sealed in slabs? I think DiscountVideoGames.com, the owner of that, I believe that's Greg. I do believe he is going for NES sealed complete. So let me know if there's anybody else in the hobby going for NES sealed complete. I'd be really curious about that. And I'd love to have anybody on the podcast. If you can hit me up same day, and we would go live that night. So let's look over the CGC updates, because there was a lot of those, and we got to get through those before we talk about WATA, Golden, PWCC, and some other updates around the industry. CGC had a lot going on in 2024, and I'm just going to basically go to the website. I'm not going to cover all the news, but if you want more news and updates, just go to cgcvideogames.com and click on news and events, and there's tons of news. They do a really fabulous job at writing and linking news and updates in the hobby. So I think the real important one, especially after the last Japanese auction that went off, Pokemon Red, I believe, hit 30 grand. So Japanese games are now on the block, in the meta, going off. It seems like there's a little bit of FOMO going on. So it's important to note that CGC does grade Japanese games. So I'm going to run off the list here of games they grade in all regions. So that means they grade these whether they're Japanese, European, or American. Nintendo Wii, Wii U, Switch, Virtual Boy, DS, 3DS, Mega Drive, CD, 32X, PS2, 345, PSP Vita, Xbox 360, One, and Series S. They also grade N64, NTSC-J, so Japanese, Super Famicom, and Sega Saturn. I don't know if they grade every Super Famicom, so no Famicom or Famicom Disk System yet. The only choice there used to be VGA, and the rumor is VGA is no longer doing happy stickers. So it's going to be real tough to do, like Castlevania. First Castlevania is going to be on Disk System. First Zelda is going to be on Disk System. And then Famicom, obviously, is your Marios. PAL, Europe, Oceania. Oceania, I do believe, means like Australia. NES, SNES, 64, GameCube, Boy Color, Boy Advance, Game Gear, Master, 2600, 5200, 7800, ColecoVision, Intellivision. So that does it for what they opened up. I guess they opened up basically N64 and Super Fami. That's really important for your let's say 30 to 40-year-old that's coming into the market, because I'm noticing a lot of kids love, when I say kid, I'm talking 30 to 40. A lot of kids love Japanese. I don't know why. I think it's just the cool factor. I think it's the flex factor with social media. When you put up Japanese, it's automatically rare. It's automatically something that not everybody has. It's just really cool. I'm hard-headed and stubborn. I really only go for Japanese that's earlier than the American version in the timeline, but it looks like kids don't care. If it's high grade, it's eye candy, it's worth posting. So the other update to grading was that they updated the wells, and if you did not know, that's what CGC calls the inner blisters. Each graded game goes into an inner blister at WATA or CGC, not at VGA. And WATA actually used to put, I think they still put 2 films of plastic in addition to the blister on CIB. and then that goes into a hard case. So over at CGC, they call them wells, and for cart only, they've updated the wells to be form-fitting. They're showing a picture of a Link, beautiful gold cartridge. So at the bottom, where the NES cartridge is indented, the well or the blister is also indented, so it can't move at all. This update applies to NES, SNES, and N64. Have you ever sent in any cart only? So the other big news, I'll leave the pedigree at last for the last update because that's really complicated. The other big news, which I've been using a lot because I'm jumping back into Frankensteining, I need to know often which cart and manual pair with a first print box. If you want to take it a step further, which cart and manual pair with a second, third, fourth, fifth? Zelda has 10 boxes. Super Mario Brothers 2 and 3 may have 5 to 10 boxes. So if you want to know how to pair a box, cart, and manual and have them come out matching, you can go to the CGC Complete in Box Guide and do this for about 30 games. For NES, it's Blades of Steel, Castlevania, Zelda, Mega Man, Metroid, Mike Tyson, Rad Racer, SMB 2 and 3, and Zelda 2. For Sega Genesis, it's Castlevania Bloodlines, Contra, Hardcore, course, Disney Aladdin, Golden Axe, Shinobi, Sonic 1, 2, 3, Streets of Rage, and for N64, Banjo-Kazooie, GoldenEye, Zelda Mask, Zelda OOT, MK64, Mario Party Snap, SM64, Super Smash Bros., and Yoshi's Story. And let's just bring up something I don't know anything about, like OOT. Let's just look up OOT. So OOT, it gives you a list of every box in chronological order, a list of every cartridge in chronological order, and there's only one manual. It gives you game-specific inserts, and then it tells you how to build each box. So there's a collector's edition, an embossed cover, and a player's choice. So it tells you with the collector's edition, you can have a specific cartridge and manual, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. Now, let's do this for something like NES, where there can be multiple, let's do Castlevania. I know you can either mix and match the small or large end label cartridge with a first or second print box. And this guide lets you navigate how to Frankenstein. It's beautiful. They show a picture of Castlevania large end label, or they call it a large logo versus small logo. So the boxes are hang tabs, circle SOQ with a Revet in the lower right, then the oval last. So there's 4 boxes, 4 print runs of CIB. There's 4 cartridges. There's 2 manuals. Okay? So for the first print set, for the first print CIB, you could either use large or small logo. You have to use the Circle SOQ manual. For the second print, you use the small logo. And, you can use the 3-screw Circle SOQ third print cartridge. You have to use the Circle SOQ manual. And so on and so forth. So this guide is really built for Frankensteiners. If you're Frankensteining out there, if you're resubbing, marrying, cracking, cleaning, restoration, pressing, and then swapping in components, this is your best friend. I love this guide. And I can't wait until they drop SMB1. So the final big news is that CGC landed the entire DFW collection. It's called DFW for Dallas Fort Worth First Pedigree. So this is CGC's first pedigree. There's a lot of debate in the hobbies about pedigree versus name collection. And I'm just going to go over the article real quick for CGC Video Games. What's the difference between pedigree and name collection? I believe the key word is significant. So obviously this estate find where a non-video game collector happened to be at the right place at the right time, probably spent thousands of dollars. This person admitted on social media somewhere that they are not knowledgeable in video games. I think maybe eBay. They got pounded by the hobby, and they learned real quick that these things are really valuable. So the next step was pulling them off of eBay, sending them in raw to Heritage. Heritage ended up sending them to CGC for the pedigree. CGC certified them all authentic, certified them in the pedigree with the special label, with the variant knowledge listed on front, subgrades if applicable on those gloss and matte stickers on the front, and then encased them in the blister and hard case with the hologram and all that, sent that back to Heritage. Heritage checked all those parts and pieces, did the photos, rewrote the descriptions to add in the DFW pedigree, and will be offering those up for auction August 22nd, 3rd, and 4th, 2024, if you're listening to this before the summer. So there's a lot of work that goes into grading. It's not just grading. Grading is authentication. Is this thing real? 100%. If it's 99%, 90%, it is not going to pass through the 3 stages of grading. It gets bumped out right away. The second stage of grading is certification. That is, what is this? Is it a hang tab? Is it a circle SOQ? Is it a Rev A? Is it an oval? Is it an oval TM? Is it an oval R? Is it a challenge set SMB3? Whatever it is, that is listed 100% with certainty on the label. The last stage is grading, either grading the box and the sealing or grading the box, the cartridge, and manual if it's CIB, or if it's qualified by VGA, grading just the box or the case, I guess, and then confirming that every single thing that's supposed to come from the factory is inside, new and unused. It doesn't have to be a 9.8 or 9.6 or VGA 90 or 100. It just has to be unused, is still in the box. So for NES, that would be the special Zelda baggie with a round window. That would be possibly on something, a pink battery save sheet, a warranty card, maybe the GoldenEye GSI, game-specific insert. It has to have everything. I have a lot of qualified stuff. I like qualified because it comes with a certificate of authenticity and it gives you historical listings of exactly what came in that game from the factory. And I really appreciate that for stuff like Famicom Super Mario Brothers, because we don't know exactly what came in the 61 versus the no barcode versus the barcode versus, the Famicom family logo. So I think significance is really what we're talking about. We're talking historical significance. We're talking video game packaging significance. And that really is everything inside, everything outside, the sealing. It's everything. Everything from TMs to Rs to sealing to H-seams to everything. You all want that documented. So grading can help you do that if you don't want to do that on your own. It's a great way. If you're new to the hobby, this is one of the many, many benefits graded games offer, which can be wrapped up into peace of mind. So CGC defines a pedigree as a collection significant to the community. So I guess if you look at a find like Dallas-Fort Worth, that is so significant because it caused waves in the community. It wasn't just the graded game community. That caused waves throughout the entire community. Once it hit eBay, everybody that collects retro games heard about the $90,000 sale, the $80,000 Metroid. It blew people's minds. I don't even know, did Pat the Punk do an episode on the $80,000 and $90,000 raw sale on eBay? I mean, those aren't scams. So those are significant sales. That's a significant one owner collection. And it's life-changing. The reseller that got lucky by being at the right place at the right time is probably going to be able to retire if this Zelda does $500,000, $600,000, $700,000. This is life-changing money for resellers. Resellers basically make minimum wage when you average out how many hours they work. They are not rich. They grind and grind and grind, and they go through so much material to find a couple nice things throughout their career. So really the difference between a pedigree and a collection is significance to the hobby. I agree that this is significance to the general overall hobby. This is not just a graded game thing, and I'm really glad that those raw sealed games got touched once by the reseller, they got touched again at Heritage, and then they got touched again at CGC, and now they're preserved forever. Forever they will be preserved in wells inside hard cases with the gold label. So there are also collections, quote unquote, that are significant to the hobby but don't meet the requirements as a pedigree. So the requirements of significance for pedigree are size, condition, uniqueness, age, and importance. There is no doubt that this Zelda TM and all the games that go with it is probably the most important find I've seen in my retro game career, which started out, I believe, a few years ago. You know, I haven't heard of anything more important than this find. As far as the age goes, I assume this collector, this elderly person, put them away in the 80s because a lot of them are first prints, which makes it 30 to 40 years old, which in video games is ancient. We're talking golden age, really, the edge of the golden age. Uniqueness, I think it's very unique that there was a hang tab, Castlevania, Zelda TM first print. You've got the Donkey Kong gloss, you've got the matte, Mario. I mean, that is really unique to have all those first prints in one hobby. Condition, hands down, it meets the condition criteria. It is one of the highest quality. It's probably the highest quality collection to come to market with significance. And then size, it can't just be 5 or 10 games is obviously what CGC is saying. So, you know, you really need, let's say, 30, 40, 50 games in the find to get a pedigree. So if it doesn't meet those 5 bullet points, I guess it's a collection like the Indiana collection. There's other collections out there. You can go on the CGC website and you can see that they're offering some Indiana collection pieces at the Certified Link auction, July 4th, 2024. So that about does it for the CGC update. That was pretty long. We're 16 minutes into the second segment, but I think I do have time to go over the other grading companies because there wasn't a whole lot that I could find coming out of WATA. I think the big news over at WATA that happened earlier in the year was WATA Graphs, as in Autograph plus WATA. I don't know if they took off, but it's kind of like putting a 2-step process into one. You used to have to send in your own certificate of authenticity to WATA to have the item encased as well as certified as an authentic autograph, but now it's one step to where I guess if WATA witnesses the signing, then it's just simply on the label. And they show an example, Michael Vick, limited signing, 2 of 13, event exclusive, National Sports Card Convention, which I think is happening this month. And you're going to get really limited numbers of live WATAgraphs that way. So if Tyson is at a show, maybe WATA's there as well, you can get your Tyson WATAgraph. The other big news is that WATA moved into other media. DVD, Blu-ray, music CDs are now being graded at WATA. I don't know if there's specifics for each one. You can find more information at the WATA blog. Go to watagames.com, click on Learn, and then click on Blog. Head of WATA, Claire Shelton, says that he's excited about music because of the variety, socioculture, and the broad impact. I agree that music is on par with video games in terms of how many hundreds of millions or billions of potential customers there are out there. The problem is that I think the amount of people that grew up with VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, and CDs is far smaller than the amount of people that have played a physical video game, because physical video games are still going. I know vinyl records came back and you can buy those in the store, and they made a resurgence. But as far as just sheer numbers that drives demand, and you know me, I'm all about scarcity and demand over rarity and supply. Something can be rare all day, but Demand is really what matters for those crazy, crazy prices we saw in 2021, like Super Mario 64 going for over $1 million, because even though there's 3 other copies or 2 other copies, the demand was out the roof. So the other big news was, I just mentioned Claire. Claire got promoted from longtime employee, actually Colorado employee. He went through head of grading at Santa Ana, and now he is head of WATA. So I don't have any news on Dennis except that he did an interview for a lawsuit. Last I heard, that was the last time I think Dennis had anything to do with the hobby, was his deposition. I do believe Dennis left WATA over the last 6 to 12 months. And I believe WATA is now a fully integrated division of collectors. So you've got not a president, but you've got head of WATA, and then I believe you've got your graders. And then maybe they probably share shipping with all the PSA, PCGS, and other divisions. They share probably everything, packaging, shipping, pictures. They probably share a lot of resources to save money. But I did meet the young graders, and they looked like they were full of energy about a year or 2 ago. And I think WATA is in good hands because PCGS is really the original grader. I think they've been grading coins longer than CGC's been grading comics, if I'm not wrong, or about the same, going back decades. So I think I do like the new WATA cases because one of the new features is the new blisters. I don't know if they've rolled them out to every single order, but Corner Relief has finally arrived. You asked for it, and you now get Corner Relief at WATA. I do believe I've seen it on Game Boy, maybe Color and Advance, and NES so far. I don't know if they're going to run out of the old blisters and rotate those in as, you know, submissions come in, or if it's platform specific, or if it's by value. I have no idea. And as of, let's say, early July 2024, you still can order the Legacy case if you like the old cases. And I think that was the reason things had a hiccup between the old and new cases, was that the blisters were the same, but the integrity of the Legacy case held them together better than the new cases. And by the way, blisters are simply, if you haven't ever cracked a WATA, I've cracked probably 100, or I've cracked CGC2 and cracked the VGA as well, but VGA has nothing on the inside, so it's just held by a hard plastic. The other 2 companies have inner wells or blisters that are just click together really loosely. They're not held together really tightly by any hardware, so they can separate. It looks like CGC solved one of the borders by making it fold over, so it folds over onto itself, so it's not going to split at the bottom. But that was the problem initially with WATA, and they solved that, and you now have Corner Relief and new blisters. So what about VGA? Speaking of cracking a VGA and nothing inside to protect the game, I want to mention that you can always get UV protection. I just ordered a Tetris with cleaning and UV just for the heck of it. And the big news over at VGA was pop reports for the last couple of months. And it's 15 years of data, and it's mind-blowing. Overall, my feeling was that the numbers were super, super low. Like, I just looked up a baseball game. I had the Pop 1 Jumbo Giant Box Baseball Babe Ruth Hank Aaron PC, and then I had a green screen sealed baseball for the Game Boy Original, and I was shocked there was only Pop 2. Like, I have one of 2 copies on the planet going back 15 years. So it's just amazing now that you can look up VGA Pops. You can extrapolate how rare something is. I mean, let's say it goes back 10 years and you can think to yourself, well, it's Pop 10. That's like Pop 1 per year. It's like the game comes up once per year. What about my baseball? That thing comes up once every 3-4 years. I can't believe it won't sell for $1,000 on Facebook. It's just mind-blowing, but it reminds us that rarity doesn't matter. It's all about scarcity. Maybe it's a pop too, but maybe only one person wants it. Maybe the people building their Game Boy original set, they don't care about green screens. They don't really care. They don't want to pay up for rarity or scarcity. So yeah, it's a real good lesson to teach yourself depending on the game. You can do advanced searches by the game and the year, by the way, to break down variants. It's a real good lesson to test rarity versus scarcity. For example, I would say that oval Marios and oval Zeldas have more demand than rounds because rounds are too expensive. It's as simple as that. It has nothing to do with the pops, nothing to do with rarity, but the pops can give you kind of a feel of that difference between rarity and scarcity. SMB3 is a great place to start. I think if you haven't dived into the VGA pops, I would pull up WATA, Super Mario Bros. 3. Assume there's 400 copies sealed, maybe 500 if you include CGC and WATA, and then pull up VGA and try to extrapolate, let's say, 1,000 copies in the hobby, including ungraded. And now you can start thinking to yourself, well, okay, oval R's are half of those, and you can still sell a 7.58 for this. Maybe I want to go for a 9.4 instead of a 7.5 round, or a Left Brothers, on Super Mario Bros. 3. So that about does it for the grading companies, and we talked about CGC's pedigree. I think the other couple updates are minor. We've gotten through the meat of this podcast. I'm glad, because we're 25 minutes in the second segment, which means I think we can wrap it up. So Golden was the other big news. They are an auction platform. They're worth mentioning. They have sold a lot of games. I don't believe they sold anything over $1 million, but I did watch the entire episode 2 of the Netflix series, and the owner of Just Press Play, Zach, who was the guy that won the first six-figure piece in the hobby at Heritage, which, if you did not know, was the Pawn Stars Mario second print, earliest sealed high-grade Mario 9.48 plus, sticker sealed Pawn Stars Mario that asked $1 million on Pawn Stars and has 8 to 10 million views on YouTube, was won by Zach, the owner of Press Play, who's featured in episode 1 of Golden, the Midas Touch or whatever, the Golden Touch, King of Collectibles. And he shows us his amazing collection. He consigns an SMB1 round that does 6 figures, and I think at stadium events that does 5 to 6 figures. But that Super Mario, the SMB1 gloss sticker Pawn Stars Mario, was owned by 3 people. The owner of Heritage, the founder of Heritage, Zach, the owner and founder of Just Press Play. They do sell slab video games on eBay, by the way. And Stephen Reese, a coin dealer who I believe passed away after the hate storm in 2021. So I guess his estate or family might own a third of the Pawn Stars Mario. But it was good to see video games getting full play on Netflix. And later in this is a spoiler for you guys. Later in the season 2 episodes, they do mention that video games are a part of their pop culture goal, and Golden's goal for this year, I believe 2024, was $30 million in pop culture collectibles. And I'm not going to tell you if they reach that goal or not, but it's kind of the cliffhanger they use for all the episodes throughout season 2. I did love the Netflix series. Definitely season 2 is better than 1 now that they're they're diving into music. I'm a sports card, low time, small time dealer as well, so I can relate to how far that hobby has grown. Is just completely mind blowing. Like the Honus Wagner that's trimmed, that's the serial number PSA 00000001, first card that PSA ever graded. Wayne Gretzky bought it, and it was like $1 million card that blew our minds in the 90s, 3 decades ago. he actually holds that card in his hand, meeting the owner of the Arizona Diamondbacks, flying in on a jet to get some consignment of some undercopies. But the guy has an insane collection, like PSA 10, Mickey Mantle. He's got the best Honus Wagner in the world. It's just insane. It's like $100 million cardboard stack that you could put in the palm of your hand. And to see that Honus Wagner go from 1 million to 50 million is just mind-blowing. I just hope our hobby is where sports cards were when I had my card shop, where most of the card shop sales were $1, $2, $3, $4, $5. We didn't sell $100 cards. $50 card was once a year thing, maybe a Jose Canseco rookie. That was it. Even a Ken Griffey Jr. rookie wasn't even like $10. There was really nothing in a typical card shop inventory that was $100 or more. So I know we've evolved much quicker, but remember, we're a 40-year-old hobby. Japanese video games have been continuously appreciating for 40 years. They've never gone down. They never had a bubble, unless we're in one now. So there are parts of this hobby that have forever gone up. Same with sports cards. The Honus Wagner has forever gone up. The Mickey Mantles have forever gone up. If you want to follow someone that believes this is an asset class, just like Ken Golden, it's the dentist. He's the guy that's treating this as an asset class. You can look him up at VVG Club on Instagram. So kudos to Golden for bringing video games more eyeballs. A couple other small items to cover. PWCC used to be fee-free for credit cards. By the way, Fanatics, the biggest player in collectibles, but the biggest industry player by far, a multi-billion-dollar company. They own all the credit card companies. They sell all the jerseys. I think they make all the jerseys. Jerseys, by the way, have completely blown up in sports collectibles. Photo matching, autographs. It's just taken jerseys into the $1 million range left and right. It's just scary how expensive they are. But Fanatics bought PWCC, and PWCC let go of some people. Josh used to work over there, but he did get the video game division going. So PWCC, I have to mention, they do still sell video games. Not as many as before when Josh was there, but they're still, offering video games on a weekly basis on Sunday nights. And they used to offer no-fee credit cards. By the way, speaking of credit cards, eBay's the only place with no fee. I do believe Golden charges a fee, Heritage charges a fee, Certified Link charges a fee, Comic Connect charges a fee, PWCC now charges 2.9%. But I do believe you can set your bank account up at Heritage PWCC and Golden to avoid any payment fees if you have the cash. Final small little news. I've been dabbling on Mercari for my wife. That's actually a big avenue for people that have been banned on eBay. Mercari really is the go-to for collectible video games. There's a lot of slabs, a lot of WATA. The downside is that it looks like you can't really list over $2,000 items. I think there might be a way to become a special higher tier seller to go up maybe to 5 or more. But for a normal account, it's really for consumers. It's not for businesses. So you just sign up as an individual. You always have to pay sales tax. The bad news is there's like payment fees. There might be a credit card processing fee, and there's shipping usually on the buyer side. But on the seller side, the big news is not PWCC. Mercari did away with selling fees. So what I do is offer free shipping. So when I sell something for $100, I get $100. I just have to cover shipping. So you basically get the hammer price of whatever the item sells for. You can charge shipping. You can also buy shipping labels from them as well. So good luck out there buying, selling, trading, reselling, investing, collecting, play life like a video game. Try something too. Try a Mercari. Try a PWCC. Try setting up no sales tax. Try setting up a new bank account. Try crypto. Whatever it is, you're going to fall flat on your face. If it's something you've never done before, that's standard. That's okay. As long as you get up like you do every time when you're playing Tyson or whatever it is out there. Do that enough times, and someday you will become a master.